experience. But one of the things I do, because there's a great article written by a guy named Bruce Feiler in the New York Times. He wrote several years ago, how do you ensure that your kids will be successful? Now, the article doesn't say what the definition of success is, whether it's monetary or they have great marriages, but on some level, Bruce Feiler, Google it, the New York Times article, is able to determine how to have successful children. And what he found was that it made no difference if you came from a wealthy home or an educated home. The one thing that mattered in making sure your children will become successful is that they knew the family narrative. Isn't that amazing? That they knew the family story. So, for instance, I, Elie Karfunkel, know my grandparents' story, my grandmother's story, my grandfather's story. It is amazing, though, how many of our children don't know the story of our great-grandparents. And so when you think about it, the way to ensure the children's success at the Seder night is not how many Dvar Torahs they can say about blood, frogs, and lice necessarily. It's not how well they sing the Manishtana. It's how well do they know that their grandparents and great-grandparents persevered to get to that point. Because all kids, all of humanity struggles. But if you know that your own grandfather or your own grandmother struggled and was successful and they persevered, then the kid knows, I can do it because I did it already. My Bubby did it. My Zadie did it. So in addition to all of the great ideas you're going to give over to your children and grandchildren at this Seder and at future Seders, perhaps the most important thing is not Kadesh, Orchatz, Karpatz, and Yachatz. The most important part of the Seder is the Seder part which no one takes important at all, which is Shulchan Aruch, the meal, where you get to sit down and everyone's relaxed because the kids are not saying, I want to say this Dvar Torah, I want to say this Dvar Torah. I remember my mother's, I used to come home with a tome, 80, 90, 100 pages from my yeshiva in grade 5. And my mother would say, Elie, save the Dvar Torahs for tomorrow. And I would say, Ma, it's already the second Seder. There's no tomorrow. But I think she knew that already. The most important part of the Seder is the Shulchan Aruch experience, where you get to sit down and just tell over your grandparents' story. I want to tell you a story that really brings this to mind. A guy by the name of Steve Bradbury. I don't know if you know Steve Bradbury. You can Google it. Steve Bradbury is the first Australian Olympic gold winner. Now, I know Australians are very good in the Summer Olympics, but Steve Bradbury was the best Australian speed skater. And this was his third Olympics in Utah. You remember the one in Utah? And he already had many, many operations. And in the semifinals, he was, and there's only 5 people in it's a short distance speed skating race. So envision a small arena going around 8 times really fast with all the 5 speed skaters sort of all stuck together. And he came in 4th place in the semifinals. He did not make it. But at the last second, the referees ruled that the guy in 2nd and 3rd place sort of cheated with each other, and he got into the finals. So here he is, the last and only Australian shot of winning a gold in all of Winter Olympics history, and he's there against 4 other guys from China, Japan, America, and Canada. Oh, Canada, we love you. And all these guys were major, major winners, and this guy, Steve, was basically the 200th best speed skater in the world. He was going to for sure finish in last place, but he had a strategy. And if you Google the video, it's amazing because as they're going around the last lap, lap 7, the 4 guys are like neck and neck, and they're all trying to get that little extra edge to gold. And Steve is like 100 yards behind everyone. And lo and behold, what happens? The other 4 sort of go for the lead. They bang into each other. They all fall on the floor. And Steve, boom, he finishes. He's the only one standing, and he wins the gold medal. And I tell that to my kids because no matter what is going on in your life, if you're just hanging around, if you just somehow don't give up, and you're just there and you try, whether it's a baseball team, you're trying to learn Gemara or Torah, you're just showing up. You're just showing up. That's all you're doing. Ultimately, you'll be the last one standing, and you'll be victorious. My blessing to everyone is that this Seder Corona and every Seder, just give over something to your kids from your parents and grandparents. Perhaps a story about Steve Bradbury, the greatest Australian speed skater ever, that all he did was show up. And when you show up, you win. You know, our rabbis tell us that there are 4 sons at the Seder. The Chacham, the Rasha, the Tam. Anyone with the 4th one? Anyone got it? The Sheni de Lishul. And so our rabbis ask, how do you have the 4 sons? How can one parent have 4 different sons like that? I mean, wouldn't you think you have 4 Chachams or 4 Rashas? But let's be honest, we have all different kids. And you know why we have different kids? Because there's a part of us that's the Chacham, a part of us that's the Tam, a part of us that's the... We're a little bit of all of them. And so we have to realize that what our kids see is how they become. And if our kids see a Chacham, then they become a Chacham. And if our kids see a Rasha, Chas v'shalom, they become Rasha. So let's do our best on this Seder and give our kids the best experience possible, the experience of knowing they can persevere, and tell them that this Seder, they'll remember forever. Every Seder is a blur. The 2019 Seder, the 2018 Seder, it's this Seder they're going to remember forever. And you know what they're going to remember? That they're going to persevere. They're going to make it through Corona. They're going to make it through life. As Frank Sinatra said, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. That's the power of this Seder's experience. I wish everyone an amazing Yontif. Persevere like Steve Bradbury, like your Bubby and your Zadie, and you'll have a successful Seder. I know you will. Chag Sameach. All right. Woo.
That was great.
Amazing. I love Houston.
We would love to have you as for a visit.
I said in my shul last week, I kid you not, 2 weeks ago, because I didn't have shul last week, that Hashem loves the Astros. I used to think Hashem loved the Yankees. But Hashem created this whole Corona to take the spotlight away from the Astros. Can you imagine? Hashem must love the Astros. Unbelievable.
That's funny.
I guess so. That's it.
Everyone, stay healthy, okay?
Right.
Stay healthy.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
All right.
That was outstanding.
Be well, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Bye. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.